Hello, ladies and gentlemen, back again for our next one. Our next go around. Right around, baby, spin me right around. Okay, 10 ways you are getting scammed. So let's get on with it. This is done by Mindchop.
Number 10, chip companies. Right off the bat, we have chip companies. We've all been there. You work hard for your money, you decide to treat yourself and buy a bag of chips. And when you open the bag, it's 2/3 air. Now, you can make a case that the air protects the chips or...
Guess what? That's what it actually does in more ways than one. We'll get to it as soon as he's done blabbing.
keeps them fresh, or even question my inability to look at the net weight versus chip weight ratio. No matter what way you look at it, the amount of chips to the amount of air in these bags is absolutely unacceptable. We work hard for our money, and we don't deserve a $4 bag of air.
Guess what? Yes, you do. Because you read the weight that's on the freaking bag. If you think you're getting screwed, well, you weigh the bag versus the chips. You're an adult. Act like it. Pull your head out of your keister and use it for something other than a hat rack. The air that is not air that is in a chip bag is nitrogen. Nitrogen is an inert gas. It is also used in airplane tires and airplane shocks and things like this that can go boom, pop, catch on fire because it is non-reactive, it is non-explosive, it is used inside of chip bags for two purposes. Number one, they fill the chip bag with air and only partially full of chips because chips break easy. Now, if you look at things like popcorn that doesn't break as easy or cheesy poofs that doesn't break as easy, they will oftentimes have them filled near the top. But chips tend to break easy. Just like Ruffles or Pringles, which are a chip-like item. They're basically potatoes that have been ground up and reprocessed into a particular shape so they stack, so they form a nice unit. They don't need that large cushion, so they come in these nice, convenient, small little tubes that are filled with nitrogen. Why nitrogen, you ask? Why would that be the guess? Because potato chips have fat and other such things. Number one, they can go stale. Nitrogen extends their life. Number two, chips often have fat. Fat that is not refrigerated goes rancid rather quickly. So, nitrogen stops the decay of the fat and it turning rancid. It extends the shelf life of the product. And that way, so that nice cushion of air does three things. Cry baby, grow up, be an adult.
Number 9, legal services.
Oh,
Got hurt in a
Lord.
car accident? Going through a messy divorce? Found an unmarked puddle at your local grocery store? Don't worry, lawyers got your back, and, unfortunately, your pocket. In general, the average lawyer charges between $250 to $300 an hour, including breaks, lunches, meetings. Oh, and of course, while they're in court. And this doesn't even guarantee you a win. You could dish out tens of thousands of dollars to lawyers and not even win the case you're suing for. Now, of course, lawyer services are invaluable in winning a majority of cases, considering the average person's knowledge of the law doesn't go much further than stealing is bad and murder is worse. Some of these fees are absolutely ridiculous, though. One Canadian resident wrote into CBC to complain that his lawyer was charging him for office supplies. That's 7 cents a staple and 11 cents a...
Hey, at least the guy knows what he was being charged for. And although most people would lump that under, like, which we get to this later in the thing, most places that you go, repair shops, you will see shop supplies or some kind of fee like that. Well, that's to cover stuff that instead of charging you for a whole tube of RTV when they only use a little bit, well, that's what that type of thing's to cover. Now, as far as your complaints about lawyers, unfortunately, in the world we live in, Lawyers are a necessary evil, and they are not a scam. You can get a good lawyer or you can get a bad lawyer. The choice is yours. But the better somebody usually is at their given job, the more they get paid. And now you're complaining that you are paying over $100 an hour for a lawyer. Well, just like with the plumber or the auto mechanic, a lot of times you are not just paying for the lawyer. You're not just paying for a plumber. You're not just paying for the guy servicing your car. You have the overhead. He's got to pay for his office, his transportation. If he's not making any money to take home at the end of the day, he's not going to do anything. They have staff for each lawyer. I've seen where a small lawyer might have 2 secretaries, maybe 3, to where, and that's a small town lawyer, doesn't have super amounts of clients coming in the door, but has enough to stay busy and paid. To where you have other lawyers that have 15, 20 per lawyer of legal aides and secretaries that they have to pay, because there's no way for a lawyer to possibly research everything by themselves and be in court to present your case. Now, yes, there are lawyers that are scam artists. You will have scam artists in every single profession there is. In the last 3 months, we've had announcements on the radio telling people that the lotto system does not call you to tell you you're a winner because, well, guess what? People are scamming on the lotto. And now that it's tax time, we've had them on the news today. I was listening to the radio, and a commercial came on that was warning about people calling and saying that they were the IRS. And you also have the infamous FBI scam to try to get you to send a money order to. You're going to have scams no matter where you go, but this is part of you being adult, and I got the feeling I am going to repeat this so many times during this. Sometimes you just need to grow up and be an adult, and you need to do your research. Like, if I got in trouble criminally, I know the name of the lawyer I'd go to. I had an injury. I got a lawyer after talking to a couple of them. And they are a great lawyer. They've won all my cases so far for my injury. And some of the battles have been long. But if you drop I don't know, whatever on somebody's foot, well, you're going to have to get a lawyer to defend yourself from them and their lawyer. Because a wise man is not his own lawyer.
Paperclip. Frankly, we're surprised he wasn't charged for the ink to sign the checks.
No, that would have been
Number 8, lotteries. The creation of the lottery was probably the greatest business pitch of all time. It's absolutely perfect and foolproof. They sell a few 100,000 tickets at a buck each, choose
it's
several
gambling. It's not a scam.
If someone chooses a ticket with those numbers, you give them a couple $1 million. The odds of winning the lottery are usually around 1 in 3 million, and that's just to get more than 3 numbers correct.
It's gambling.
The odds of a jackpot are closer to 1 in 40.
Gambling, that's why only adults are allowed to do it.
The company always makes money. In 2005, a group of oil plant workers in Alberta, Canada, won Lotto 649's $55 million jackpot after $99.5 million in ticket sales. The lotto company behind Lotto 649 essentially netted $49.5 million for doing nothing but printing and selling the tickets.
Now, I don't know about other lottos around the world, or even in other states. But the few states that I have actually lived in long enough to learn about their lotto, that the lotto itself, if it's a local lotto, actually goes to help the schools and infrastructure in that state. Most of the time. It is not a scam. Again, you are gambling. Be an adult. That's why only adults are allowed to gamble. Because it's not a scam. Sometimes you just want to strangle people because they're... Yeah, I know. They made a video just to look at that. 1,251,845 views. That's why they made the video. To try to convince... See, this goes along with the false... You want to convince somebody that they're being scammed, it's easy. You just got to tell them, hey, that was a scam. But a lotto is not a scam. And a lot of times that money, it goes tax money. It goes into the coffers. Now, yes, if a private corporation is running the lotto, they are going to make money. But guess what? They are going to pay taxes on that money just as you are going to pay taxes on your winnings.
Number 7, pawn shops. Pawn shops are a
Oh, Lord. Grow up.
great place to buy and sell just about everything. They sell jewelry, computers, antiques, collector items, and even cars in some cases.
Yes, they do. They are, or they can be, a great resource to buy stuff, and they can be a great resource to save your ass in an emergency.
And the prices are usually pretty good, with most pawn shops selling items at 75% the retail price.
Yeah, because they're used. Duh.
That is, however, if you're buying. Pawn shops operate by purchasing their merchandise from customers who come to pawn stuff off. Since pawn shops always sell their goods at reduced rates, and they of course need to turn a profit, they'll usually buy their goods at less than half what they will sell them for.
Of course, that's called being a smart businessman. If every time you turned around, you were selling it for barely over what you bought it for, you're not going to be paying for your overhead. You're not going to be paying for storage. A lot of times when you go to permanently pawn something, and by the way, those are what I think those are. Those are a set of badass speakers. But these have to sit on a shelf in a lot of pawn shops 30, 60, 90 days. And they all have to be reported daily. These pawn shops have to write a list of everything that was pawned the day before. And they have a certain time to submit it by or they get fined. So this stuff sits on their shelf. Guess what? If it's stolen, the pawn shop doesn't get their money back without taking you to court. So part of the markup is to cover expenses such as stolen goods that get sold to them or a pawn to them. And pawn shops give you an X amount of dollars for your stuff. You have so many days to pay it back, or they put it on the shelf to recover their lost money. And yes, they rarely give over 50% of an item's value, depending on how good of a negotiator you are and how bad they want and or need the item. Most pawn shops are usually pretty well stocked on everything. So therefore, there's not much of a market for what you're selling, so they can buy it low and sell it high. That's how it works. Grow up, be an adult once again.
Want to sell your vintage Buffalo Sabres blood-soaked ice hockey jersey?
You're disgusting.
Yeah, they have a guy for that, and they'll probably only give you $50.
Yeah, because it's not worth very much unless you are actually looking for that exact item.
Number 6, repair shops.
And now you're really going to irk my nergin. I knew this one was coming. People always, scam. Well, then learn how to fix your own damn car. Learn how much trouble it is to fix your car. Learn how much you have to spend on the tools. And yes, there are a lot of scam shops. That's why you stay away from Quickie Lubes. Quickie Lubes are the most... And anyways, because you think they can make a profit selling you an oil change? No. Their whole entire profit on a Quickie Lube is in the
Automotive repair
upsell.
shops are infamous for not only overcharging on simple repairs, but recommending and performing...
overcharging on simple repairs. You know, I had a customer once, I quoted him the book time. It's only 3 bolts. I said, well, I'll give you a break. Guess what? It took 3 hours to take those 3 bolts off without destroying a bunch of other parts in the process. So for a job that normally takes 25 minutes, that books at just over an hour, took 3 hours. This is why they charge, because jobs don't always go the way they're supposed to. Your 1 hour job could turn into a 6 hour or an 8 hour job because of things like rust, other types of corrosion, general wear.
Unnecessary repairs. Ever take your car in for an oil change and been told that you need to replace your spark plugs?
I tell you what, you ought to buy a Mercedes. You go in and for an oil change and you get a $900 bill from the OEM service manufacturer.
Change your washer fluid and...
I don't think anybody's going to tell you to change your washer fluid. But a lot of people do tell you that according to your time, your odometer, you got a little book. It's called a user manual. Open it up. Read a little. And by the way, if you think it's a ripoff when the guy charges you $175 because he had to go buy a special tool to extract your spark plug that you didn't change till $125,000, because the owner manual said it was good till then, well, then maybe you need to learn how to do your own repairs.
Flush your brake lines? Well,
by the way, this welder right there, that's $3 to $5 grand by itself. This cart, that's about $1,000 for this tool cart. $2 to $1,000 for this drill press right here. Good welding helmet are $60-$70 at least minimum. You got a some kind of gas tank here for holding. I don't know if it's a torch or if it's propane. You know, oxyacetylene. You're gonna have those. You're gonna have lifts. Lifts are $2-3 grand a piece. The last shop I was in, they bought a brand new alignment rack. That was the last automotive shop I was in, bought a brand new alignment rack. That was $75,000 for that rack. And they charge $80 an alignment. You know how long that takes to pay that off? The last diesel shop I was in bought a brand new alignment setup. And that was $55,000 because semis don't actually have a rack that you drive on, which makes it all the more funner to do the alignment on.
It's likely that you didn't get those all done at once, but these are very common repairs that are usually...
Oh, and by the way, usually by the time your vehicle needs brake fluid, it needs a flush. Because dirty fluid leads to premature, it can lead to premature brake pad wear, because the piston doesn't move right. It can cause the piston seals to go out. Transmission fluid on a Dodge has special chemicals in it that keeps the seals supple and from leaking. So if you don't service your transmission on a regular basis, which if you do it the old-fashioned way is every 15,000 miles, newer vehicles might be up to 30, but still it ain't that much. If you do a flush, it's like every 55,000 miles, 30 to 55,000 miles. Like I said, once again, read your owner's manual. It's part of being an adult and taking care of your car and knowing which place is reputable and which place isn't.
Usually unnecessary and only performed to steal some...
I mean, I'm surprised he doesn't go into handyman services, because there's a lot of handyman servers that are scammers.
Cash from your pocket. To test how trustworthy repair shops are, CTV News W5 investigators purchased a brand new car, loosened one of the battery connectors, and brought it to 11 different automotive repair shops. Of the 11 locations, only one tightened the connector and actually repaired the problem. Among the other shops, each recommended or...
Yeah, look at the place there. That looks like Discount Quick Lube.
Perform some variation of a full brake replacement, brake fluid,
I don't get how any of that would be related to a brake cable.
battery and connector replacement, and at one location, a brand new
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are fresh off the floor making $7 an hour
transmission.
that don't have a
Phone
clue.
companies.
No, God.
Hey, want the new iPhone 17s Plus? Of course you do. Well, it's only $850.
Yeah, no kidding. Gee, who's going to pay $850 for a phone they're going to walk out of the place and drop on the ground and break? You know, like the last couple of times iPhone released.
Don't have that much cash? That's no
Yeah, that's a lot of money to spend on something that is going to be obsolete within 2 years. If you don't break it.
problem. We'll give it to you for free. Yeah, you heard it right. Free.
Really? Free? Cool. Nah, I'll just buy the $100 smartphone that doesn't have quite as many bells and whistles, but still has a good camera, and it's a phone.
All you have to do is sign this $80 a month contract.
Yes, because you're paying for the phone via payment installments, plus you're paying for
Locked in for 2 years and
the plan.
done. You're now the proud owner of a phone that will go out of style / tech superiority in around 6 months. Plus, by the end of those 2 years, you'll have paid out nearly $2,000.
Yes, and guess what? When you buy a phone on a payment plan, you're going to pay extra for it. That's the way they work.
Even though you rarely call anyone and are too terrified of your data limit to even use it.
Most people I know use the piss out of their cell phone and text the hell out of everyone.
Compare this to outright buying the phone and putting it on a $30 a month contract. You're overpaying by almost $400, which almost makes sense.
And this again comes back to being an adult to make sure you get a good contract. I know people that go with the more expensive contract because it's the only phone that works in their area, and they have since gotten rid of their house phone. So they eliminated the $80 a month they were paying for their house phone and transferred it to $80 a month for a cell phone.
They give you a brand new phone for free and make your monthly bill larger, so you pay a little bit extra at the convenience of not needing the $800 regular.
You got it! Right there. You pay a little bit extra, just like you do with any loan. You buy a car, guess what? You pay a little bit extra. You go to Showplace or Rent-A-Center, you pay a little bit extra. You buy anything on a payment plan, and you normally pay a little bit extra for the convenience of being able to make payments.
This system is a scam because after the 2 years passes, the contract isn't renegotiated or updated.
Of course it's not, because that is your job to go in and do it. They leave you on the same plan. They're not mind readers. That's the reason, on occasion you call your cable company up and say, hey, I kind of don't like how much my bill is. Do you got a better package? And they will say yes or no. You say no, well, I'm going to go to DirecTV then. So next month I need you to shut my stuff off. And sometimes they'll actually come and change it.
At this point, the phone has already been paid for and the contract should move down to $30 a month.
No, it shouldn't, unless you wrote it in the contract. It is a contract. Just because your lease ends, that rental lease, just because it ends doesn't mean you pay less for the house you live in. Because you're still using the service of the house. You are still using their service. So, what you need to do is call them up, say, hey, my contract's done. I want on a different plan. I want a cheaper plan. That is what is called being an adult and being responsible. I know, new concept to you, right? Right.
It doesn't. It remains at 80, regardless of whether you get a new phone or
Lord.
not. This is,
I
of course,
bang my
to
head on my
encourage you to buy
desk
a new
now.
phone and get locked in for another 2 years.
Guess what? You just bought another new phone. Hey, it's 2 years. I got this iPhone 4 I want the iPhone 6S, man. Lock me in for another 2 years. Yeah. And guess what? That $1,000 phone is now yours to use for the next 2 years. If at the end of the 2 years you decide you like the phone and don't like the newer one, guess what? You call them up and say, hey man, I just finished paying off this phone. Why am I still paying $80 a month? I need a better plan. How many times do I got to tell you this? Mindchop? Yeah, somebody chopped your damn mind up. Woo!
But if you're comfortable with your current phone, you're getting ripped off.
No.
Used/new car dealerships. With the exception of flea markets, any modern
Yeah, this
business that
one's
not only
coming.
practices but relies on bartering is dated, flawed, and of course, a ripoff.
No, they're not dated. They're not flawed, and they are not a ripoff. Again, this comes back to the individual business.
Car dealerships have long since encouraged bargaining and bartering, as well as upselling and dishonesty. Honestly,
No. Bartering, yes. Dishonesty, no.
it's so deeply rooted into the system, everyone expects it and everyone hates it. But on the
No, a lot of people actually quite enjoy going to the dealership and bartering. They enjoy it very much.
other hand, you can usually get a couple thousand knocked off the given price. But
Yes, depending on your vehicle.
then again, if they're so willing to take thousands off the asking price, it makes you wonder how much of a markup they actually put on them.
Moron. In the words of Undo, fucking moron. They have an MSRP. A lot of things have an MSRP. It's called Manufacturer's Suggested Price. Not everything is sold at manufacturer's suggested price. This was a price point that the manufacturer looked at and said, yes, the average retailer can get it for this. Now, if you're going and looking at that big old 4x4 truck, you got at least $4,000 to work with on that brand new truck. Minimum off the front end. And you got more off the back end, which is usually where they get that drive it, push it, pull it, we'll take any clunker and give you $2,000 cash. Yes, sir, Bob. Jimmy C. Suit there just got $5,000 for his clunker. Woo-wee! Because the dealership has different money that they can deal with to get you a discount, while they still make money, and the vehicle manufacturer makes money. Because selling a car, there are times where the dealership gets a bonus for selling cars during certain months. Why? Because the manufacturer wants to get rid of its stock to make way for the new. And there's times of years where the dealers just want to get rid of their stock so they don't get bent over sideways in taxes.
This isn't even scratching the surface on car dealerships, what with upselling features that nobody needs.
And most car dealerships aren't all that keen on upselling features. They're more keen to let you upsell yourself. They would rather sell you that bottom biscuit car that you can afford than sell you one that with the bells and whistles that you can't, and have you storm out. That's just the way the car dealerships are. And by the way, the smaller and cheaper the car, usually the less there is to work with on getting a discount off the sticker price.
Come on, do you really need wipers on your headlights, lowballing trade-in prices, oh, and of course cleverly...
Of course, trade-in prices are lowballed. What? They got to take your clunker in, they got to fix the crap that's wrong with it to make it safe to drive down the road, and then they have to resell it for what it's worth, which a lot of times isn't that much. Most people will go to KBB and look, oh, how much is my car? And they overestimate their car because they think it's perfect.
crafted car loans. Here's a hint for buying a car. Don't...
Yeah, there are cleverly crafted car loans, and this once again goes back to being an adult. If you don't want to get a car loan at the dealership, you can go to your bank or credit union and go, yes, I need a new car. I want a loan. How much can you pre-approve me for, sir or ma'am? And they will give you said price. Then you go to the
Focus on monthly
dealership
payment or interest rate.
and go, yes, Mr. Dealership, this is what I'm approved for. Here you go.
These figures mean absolutely nothing without factoring in the length of the loan. In general, the better a deal seems, the worse it is.
Not always. You look at the length of the loan versus how much you pay every month. You add that up. Then you look at the agreed upon price. You minus the difference. And if you're okay with that, then you get the car loan. If you're not, you turn around and walk out of the dealership. Again, this is all basic being an adult, a grown-up, managing your money type things.
Number 3, insurance companies. Insurance sounds like a really great idea. After all,
It is a great idea when properly practiced and you understand the agreement you're signing. And this is also an instance where having a lawyer could come in handy.
sure that you'll be taken care of when an accident happens. There are all sorts of insurance companies, plans, and types.
Yes, I actually just went through an accident because we got rear-ended. And you know what? I found the whole process quite pleasant. And then I met somebody a few days later that had a worse accident. And their experience was the complete opposite with the same company. Why? Because the company's main objective is to protect their own ass and keep a profit for shareholders.
From house insurance, car insurance, and of course life insurance.
Okay, I have been paying car insurance since the age of 17. I have been paying my own car insurance. As a matter of fact, I often shop around different insurance companies and their policies every so often. I have been with my current insurance company for going on 7 years. My father has been with his insurance company going on since I was a freaking child. And he has not had any, I think he's only had, no, because he wasn't cited at fault for that accident because the car that cut him off that made him swerve into the other guy was at fault. So he has not had to pay out, but you have people that have their car for 3 minutes and proceed to demolish it.
It's a really great sounding program. Pay a small fee every month to protect yourself from the unexpected.
And hey, you know there's also this thing called bonds. And some states actually let you get and keep a bond for car insurance. Health insurance, well, that's so expensive because people don't take an actual look at their bill. They don't get their bill. They let the insurance company handle everything when you should be actively involved. And as far as life insurance goes, as long as your family members don't murder you for it. My mother-in-law died of cancer about 3 to 4 years ago, and she had everything prepaid through through an insurance policy. There was no money left afterwards, but it paid for her funeral, paid for her casket, and everything. So we didn't have to worry about scrambling to get funds to pay for it.
Except that insurance companies will do everything in their power to avoid paying out.
Guess what? That is their actual job. That is their job, is to avoid paying out because scams. People scam them. So they have to fight tooth and nail so they don't go under.
This includes making claims needlessly complicated to verify, spreading misinformation about options.
No, it's you failure to understand. I'm sure there's some devious people out there in the insurance industry that might fib to you, but in general, no.
Charging outrageous fees for processing and outright denying claims based off unrelated detail.
Again, an outrageous fee for processing. Guess what? That was something you should have asked up front.
Multiple people have complained about being denied car insurance claims because they were sick at the time of the accident. There's no winning when it comes to insurance companies, as even if you manage to have your claim approved, your premiums will skyrocket the next month. Luckily, it's not like having insurance.
Yes, if it's your fault. A lot of times, if it's not your fault, it won't skyrocket. Mine didn't change when we got rear-ended. Again, it's about researching insurance companies. It's about asking them, hey, if I get hit, will my insurance go up? No? Can I have this in writing, please?
It's required everywhere.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Number 2, hospitals. Anyone who isn't from America can just skip this part, as you likely have a functional healthcare system.
No, they don't have a functional healthcare system in most places. They have a very heavily burdened that takes them a long time. And moron, if you had a clue how crappy government healthcare is, oh my Lord. Trust me, I go through it. I have a government healthcare insurance through a work-related accident, through a government-ran thing called the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. I need to get a shot, or I wanted to get a shot in my hip when it was hurting really bad to the point I couldn't walk when weather kept flip-flopping between hot and cold. Here it is now January, and I don't go to court over getting my shot because they've denied it, even though it's to my claim because my hip socket was split in half. So it's going to be February before I actually can get approval. So then you add a couple weeks onto that, and it's going to be almost into March, which it'll be right time for the weather to flip-flop and be hurting again. But it is taking 6 months to get something as a simple steroid shot to reduce pain and inflammation.
Pardon my French, but hospital bills are absolutely fucking ridiculous. And while they're...
No, they're not fucking absolutely ridiculous. Because it is your fault for not asking for an itemized bill and allowing insurance companies to handle everything. Because that's not what the insurance company only pays a portion. You pay the rest, so it's your fault for not going in and asking for an itemized bill. And everybody is allowed to go and ask their medical provider for an itemized bill. I mean, what? Do you think everybody in the hospital should work for free? Because, yes, you may see one nurse and a doctor. There are 50 other people in that line.
There are an infinite amount of stories about hospitals ripping people off. Let's take a look at this hospital bill from Sutter General Hospital in California. The imagery user who posted this bill goes through a breakdown of each of his costs and why it is completely illogical. We won't go through the whole thing, but some fun highlights are $4,800 for sleeping there, $7,500 for the recovery room, which he insists he was only in for around 2 hours.
Yes, that's 2 hours with somebody tending you almost completely, if not multiple people tending you, plus having a special room just for that. The lighting, the heating, the cooling.
$6,400 in surgical supplies and a ridiculous $40.
Yes, surgical supplies. Well, that's because everything, number one, everything has to be sterilized. Number two, it's all got to be barcoded. Number three, everything, all the metal utensils have to be returned, special care. You have to have special containment for all the biologicals. It's not just simply, oh, here's $1 worth of gauze pads. Well, that $1 worth of gauze pad, by the time it's said and done, costs the hospital $30, $40 because it is for the operating table. It's not like the gauze you go and buy over the counter. It may look the same, but you can throw your gauze in the trash. The hospital can't.
$500 an hour for anesthesia. Just as a reference, a quick Google search would...
Yeah, you know what? That's a little steep for anesthesia, but guess what? Number one, it's usually more than one person. Number two, if he fucks up, you're dead. So I would rather give a guy a little extra dough to have it done right than get the guy that ain't being paid a lot because he sucks and is killing people.
Reveals that anesthesia costs at that very hospital are estimated to be $207, with the cost of surgery only taking up $16 of the $55,000 hospital bill. You can quite fairly say that whoever had to pay this got ripped off.
Yes, and a lot of people are in a private room, or maybe two people at most. You have several people at your beck and call, fully catered room service. Somebody changes your sheets. If you can't get up to go poop, they will come in, give you a pan to poop on, then wipe your butt afterwards. Plus, deal with the risk of being contaminated by your body fluids.
Of course, this is far from the only case of hospitals charging ridiculous fees. And in a land where a checkup alone can cost a few $100s, it probably isn't even near the worst.
And once again, this is about being an adult and doing what you were supposed to as an adult, doing your research. They actually have hospitals now that if you need an operation, you, before the operation, prepay for the operation. It's set amount. Boom, here, $23,000 for this operation. And there's a lot of companies that are starting to do that because the insurance companies are saying, hey, we want you to go here because they know what the billing's going to be. And that is becoming a trend. And the other thing you're paying for is most of these big hospitals, these big city hospitals, have R&D departments. They have research and developments where they are researching new techniques. If you go look at the patents for medical patents and medical papers that are produced every year, guess what? The United States is the #1 dog. They are king of the hill by, I think the last time I checked, if you look at the medical innovations and that such, we have more than the next 10 countries combined. It's something like that, give or take. It's been a while since I looked up the stats, but you're talking most of the medical innovations and different types of operations come out of here. Not to mention how many people from around the world come to the U.S. to get their medical training because it is the best. It is the cream of the crop. Then once they get trained, they go back to their home country to practice medicine.
Number 1, diamonds. Diamonds are forever, as they say. And
Now,
they want us to say it. As
this
the moment you buy a diamond,
is the
it's
only
next
one
to
I agree,
worthless.
or
Unlike
partially.
most people think, the value of a diamond is not backed by anything. It's a retail item like toys and clothing.
Yes, diamonds is not backed by gold. Diamonds are not rare. Diamonds are kept rare by the people that run the mines to keep them and the jewelry stores to keep them expensive. Diamonds are gem-grade diamonds are quite frequent, and they're even more so now because where you had diamond tip cutting blades and stuff like that you needed for the industrial side, well, you can grow diamonds for that, and that's the way they do it because it's cheaper than paying for these gems. And if you look, that's why there are so many, get the new chocolate diamond or the yellow diamond, because those aren't going to the industrial anymore. So they're having a surplus of the off-colored diamonds.
Diamonds are arguably one of the worst investment traps, with their value dropping over 30% the moment you take it out of the store.
Well,
and that's if you can find someone willing to buy it off you.
Because
Hoping to
how would
resell that diamond
another
ring
store
even
make a
later.
profit on it if they bought it for the same
Pawn shops
value?
and gold diamond exchanges will be unlikely to give you more than half its worth.
Exactly,
Half
because they're going to make a
after all.
profit.
And don't even
There
get me
you go.
started about the tradition of giving your fiancé a diamond ring. That was all mocked up a mere 4 generations ago by the Beau Deer Diamond Syndicate, which had a monopoly
Duh.
on diamond mining. In the late 1940s, they spent millions on advertising, and it paid off. Often
Of
cited
course.
as one of the greatest marketing campaigns of all time, they managed to convince the entire Western world that the best way for a man to prove his love is to give his fiancée a big diamond ring.
Because they're
2 months
forever.
salary.
We know
scheme
this.
is so deeply rooted in our culture, a man not giving his fiancée a big diamond ring is seen as a sign of poverty and low class.
Not so much low class, maybe poverty, but there are, guess what, women that don't like it. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you liked it and you want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, we will catch you on the flip side for another herpy derpy. Talk to you later. Bye bye.